Good morning and welcome to the Dailies on Echo Television International, where we look at various stories that are trending on our Nigerian newspaper. And today being the September 9, 2022, it's an international day to protect education from attack. And we know what that means, right? Yesterday being the 8th, we actually look at the International Literacy Day, and we saw some of the statistics in Nigeria, especially where the Minister of Education said about 31% of Nigerians cannot read or write. So what do you think about such a statement coming from the Minister of Education? Where we're live on Facebook and also on YouTube, so you can do well to drop your comment what you feel about some of these things, and what is the literacy level in Nigeria, and how did we come about that percentage in Nigeria. I'm Sela Elisha Dasham, and I have with me Rachel. Welcome.
Thank you.
How you doing, Rachel?
I'm fine, Sela.
All right, let's quickly run through the papers that we have this morning, and I'll be starting with the Friday Al Jazeera newspaper. Queen Elizabeth dies at 96 after reign with 15 prime ministers, and we know it was really a sad story. We know
Yes.
how important Queen Elizabeth played, the history she played in the independence of Nigeria.
Yes.
So it was really a sad one. We also put our faith together, and also we want to condole with the family
them, yes.
and also the whole of Britain in the loss of Queen Elizabeth. The big story of Friday Al Jazeera says Atiku Wiki rift, PDP board of chairman resigns. The writer following that story says Wambari replaces Walid Jabrin, and we have exit not enough, says the Rivers governor. NEC passes vote of confidence as Ayu and Wabara forecasts Atiku's victory. You can read up that story inside the Al Jazeera newspaper on page 8. Nigerian gets $700 million as World Bank disburses $31.7 billion. You can read detail of that on page 26. And we have DSS raid hostage negotiators, residents and office, seizes his computers and other things. Federal government urges stakeholders on school safety guidance, and you can read up that story on page 9 of the Friday Al Jazeera newspaper. And we know I think before the resumption of school now, because we know that schools have resumed, and lots of things need to be put in place, especially when it comes to security, because you cannot just release your words and then at the end of the day you are not so confident if they will be safe there or not. And I think it's important that stakeholders and even the federal government, the state government, and even the local government will put their hands together and see how we'll be able to make the environment favorable and also secure for the pupils that will be in schools. We saw it on our papers, I think, from Monday, where we saw school being open, and also students cleaning up, making sure the environment is clean. But I think more needs to be done, especially when we're celebrating the International Day for attack of education. We know that education has been attacked, especially in Nigeria, from the Boko Haram and other things. So I think a lot needs to be done to make sure that education
And it's not only universities that are interstate. We also have secondary schools that people travel all the way from one state to another to be in school. So it's very important that these security issues is taken, because I know we are always worried when it's universities that are on, being that people have to travel. But I went to a school where people came all the way from Gombe, Lagos, Abuja, and everywhere. And then even for primary school, there are boarding schools that people leave their state. So this security is at every level. It's not just a specific section like that tertiary that are endangered from the security attack, but even secondary school and primary school. So I think it should be a year-round thing, security in Nigeria, not just at a specific period of time.
Of course, of course. Well, we've got other stories still on the Friday Al Jazeera newspaper. We have Pengasa threatening to shut down sector over oil theft. And these have been the story that have been flying on our paper since yesterday, the issue of the senior petroleum workers. And they say they cannot be working, meanwhile some people that are busy stealing the crude oil and sending it to other places. And I think they also said that especially the security agency that are being assigned to protect these places are even the ones ones that
the
are being
ones,
bribed,
yes.
So we begin to look at issues like this, and we cannot overemphasize the role they played
True.
when it comes to independence in Nigeria. So they actually, imagine if finally, because yesterday they went on rallies, I think in Warri, Lagos, and other parts, other states in the nation. So imagine if they finally say they're going to go on strike, to join other sectors that are on strike. You know what that means, right? There'll be no production of oil, and that will really, really cost a lot of
Even
problem.
with the current production, we're having scarcity, and then the price keeps hiking, and talk more of when they decide to go. And when you look at it, they're not wrong if they say that, because this theft is massive. It's not something to be joked about. It's not something little that we can like push it aside. It's one of those things that like ASU, we can say if they go on strike, they have a foundation that warrants them to actually say you have to listen to us or we will not work.
True. So I just hope that we'll be able to address the issue of the oil theft, and also because we recently, with OPEC has been complaining, we are unable to meet up the quota that is supposed to be coming from all these oil producing countries, and Nigeria have not been able to meet up because about 700,000 barrels of oil are missing daily. So you can imagine how much the billions of dollars or billions of naira we are losing as a result of that.
And this is our major source of income as an economy.
True.
So this is something to be worried about.
Exactly. Yes. So I hope the federal government will look into that. Yes. I have two stories still on the Fragile Jezran newspaper. ISWAP attack Boko Haram terrorists fleeing combatmen in Borno. You can look up that story on page 10. And Imo governor received report on Ozobi mayhem. You can also look up that story on page 10. We have some few picture stories on the Fragile Jezran newspaper, so you can do well to grab that paper and read any of the story that is of interest to you.
All right.
Let's move to other paper.
Yes, on the New Telegraph. Well, the big story is PDP crisis. IU survives sack, wins NEC's confidence of vote. And other story, British monarch Queen Elizabeth dies at age 96. We can see Nigerians' foreign trade deals hit to 12.84 trillion naira. We can see CBN bars foreign airlines from accessing parallel market for funds repatriation. Current challenges in Nigeria, unprecedented, says EQA. Then oil theft, Pengassan protest urges FG federal government to overhaul security. You can see more of that on page 2 and 4. Strikes, NANS threatens to occupy ministry. If you want to read that, you can find that on page 3 and 5. Kwara to present 187 billion revised budget, and federal government beefs up school security ahead of resumption. More of that story on page 2. And as we've said, Sele, there's no too much emphasis on this security thing. It just something has to be done about it, because these children need to know that we're going to school to be safe, because it's one thing to be in a safe environment, because these are all factors that helps in learning. I can't be in school thinking, what next? Will I even finish this term?
Of course,
Am I safe? Like, all those uncertainty also affects. So you need to know that your environment is safe enough for you to be able to open your mind and then read and understand. So we can move to the next story.
Okay, let's take a look at the Vanguard newspaper. We have no going back on report of our monitoring team to Yobe North. This is a report coming from Lawan saying this, INEC telling this to Lawan. And crisis looms in CB as commissioners petition National Assembly over chairman's alleged corruption. You can look up that story too on page 8. Nigeria, instead of receivership, needs serial miracles. This is coming from Aya. You can also look that up on page 10. Large foreign currency military materials recovered from Mahmoud's house. This is coming from the DSS in looking at the warrant of execution that took place yesterday. And then we have UBA profit raised 12.6% to 85.7 billion naira in the first half of 2022, declares interim dividends. Big story on PDP crisis. Governor Wike kicks as IU survives. The writer says reveals what IU Atiku told him over state of the party. Board of Trustee Chairman Jibrin out, Waraba in. Let's resolve our problems internally, Atiku begs. Aggrieved members. And we have NEC approves campaign structure focused on grassroots mobilization. And we have Mormon membership and the leadership. And you can look up everything you need to know about the PDP crisis on page 5. We will commit to rebuild funding of education. This is coming from Obi. And the Defense Headquarters confirms killing of over 200 terrorists in Bama and Sambisa forests. Look up that too on page 7. Regional government system can't help Nigeria anymore. This is coming from Yan Kasa. Ohanize Afenifere Pandev disagree. Some IDPs unwilling to return home. This is coming from NEDC. And this is really worrisome if some IDPs are unwilling to return home. That means the environment is not safe. You can't just tell people they can go back to their hometown, forgetting the fact that there's still insecurity in that locality. We still have some local governments or some communities that have been taken over by Boko Haram members. So you can't expect anybody from the IDP, even though there's still some issues in the IDP where we have some of the girls being molested, even some of these terrorists coming over to the camp when the security agencies are not there. So you could see that for somebody living in the IDPs, it's actually very possible for he or she to say that they don't feel safe to go back home.
If I'm to put myself in their shoes, I will remain there, not because of anything, but you are still hearing the stories in Nigeria, and there's still insecurity. So what's the guarantee that if I should go back to where I was that wasn't safe will be safe for me?
True.
It's better I stay where feels normal for a certain time, because now this place feels safer to them. And even with what is going on, it's better than the thought of death. Like, no evil is good, but I mean there's hope for tomorrow. You know that I can survive here, I can grow, I can dream. But I'm being asked to go back to where I can't dream. I'm only thinking of the next minute. And there's no security yet in this country. So what's the confidence that you're giving these people that they can actually go back and be safe? I think if they were given an option, they would choose to stay back.
Of course they will. And we still have protesting oil workers demanding action against pipeline vandals. And on insecurity, we have measures to ensure safety of Nigerians. This is coming from President Muhammadu Buhari. We can still see the picture story. The world mourns as Reverend Monarch Queen Elizabeth II dies at 96. Prince Charles becomes king. You can read up that story on page 37 of the Vanguard newspaper. That's all on the Vanguard.
The Daily Sun. Ikiwe Anya decry security, religious intolerance. You can see more of that story on page 26 and 27. ASU strike. NANS to resume street protest. More of that on page 26. Wike kicks as IU survives next sack. And the riders insist PDP chair must go or no deal with Atiku. Jibrin quits as board of trustee chairman Wabara steps in. You can see more of that on page 6. We recovered huge sums of money incriminating documents in Mamu's residence, the ESS. That you can see more of that story on page 4. Buhari vows to sustain operational tempo on security. More of that on page 26. Court extends orders stopping Buhari NBC from shutting down 53 broadcast stations. UBA records strong double-digit growth, declares 20k interim dividend. Well, we can still see world mourns as Queen Elizabeth dies at 96. Prince Charles becomes new UK king. 2023 presidency must win for APC Adamu. We can see that on page 8. And I would like us to talk a little bit about this Wike and IU. The word is dragging for too long, and it feels...
I think the papers are even. If you ask for my personal opinion, I
Yes.
think we should just move on to other
We should move
stories,
on to
because
another story.
looking at the fact that PDP crisis is beginning to linger too long, and even though each time, like every paper we have over the course of, I think, for quite a period of time right now, we keep having issues of the PDP crisis. But we
Yeah.
keep saying this, regardless of what the internal problem is. I mean, they should move on.
They should.
Campaigns is starting September 20th.
Yeah.
So you know what that means. It's for, if at this point in time they're yet to settle their internal crisis, and they are supposed to be united so that they'll be able to have a very great campaign.
True.
Hoping to, have a very come out for a successful election to come 2023. So you could see that with them going back and forth, Wike refused, Wike did this, Wike did that, and
it's
issues
beginning to
coming
look
up.
like a joke.
It's beginning to look like a joke. And I said this before, I said it's really a shame when you see grown-up men acting like kids in an issue like this. I mean, it's expected that by this time they should have resolved whatever the issue is. Wike said he doesn't want to be the number 2 citizen, which is a VP. He said he will not be bribed by any appointment coming from. So I think he has already stated his stance. They should move on to other issues.
Doesn't that worry you a little bit that these people, okay, we don't know who will win, but then if they are having this so much struggle within themselves, what will come what will it be when it comes for time to appoint?
True.
Don't you think they will take forever in arguing and fighting? Because for election, rally, campaign, this is it. Talk more of when it comes to the serious things like appointing who will take this and that in the future. They might see a longer time taking than with Buhari.
So I think they should put their house in order, because a house divided against itself cannot stand
if they really
at the
want
end of
to
the
win,
day.
they should.
Yeah, let's look at what the Blueprint newspaper have to say. We have the NEDC 631 trillion naira for the Northeast Development Plan. You can look up that story on page 6 of the Blueprint newspaper. The aftermath of the PDP NEC meeting, IU survives Wike. Boyle says NEC confident votes insulting. Pro-Wike National Working Committee, NEC members absent. Ex-Senate President Wabara replaces Walid as the Board of Trustee Chairman, and NEC fails to appoint the Presidential Campaign DG. Well, all of that can be found on page 6. 7 injured as 4-story building collapses in Ibadan. Not again. We had that, I think, on Monday or so in Lagos, where we even saw the commissioner resigning as a result of that, and we're seeing another collapse in Ibadan. I just hope something will be done. We keep talking about using low standard, materials to build. We keep talking about building by the water, ways. We keep talking about people knowing their job and carrying it out effectively. So you begin to wonder what the problem is. Are we trying to say that the materials used to the building of the story building were low standard? Or are we trying to say the contractor was not knowledgeable enough to know what that was needed so that the building will be strong? Or are we talking about the foundation? So you begin to wonder exactly what is the problem. But I just hope we'll look into issues like this. We're tired of seeing buildings collapsing as a result of that. And we have downside of the paper: troops killed 293 terrorists in 2 weeks, and also they have taken an arrest. Well, look up that story on page 14. UBA record double-digit growth, declares 0.20k interim dividends. And we have NSDC arrest 501 oil thieves, destroy 71 illegal refineries. I hope it's not just about destroying it, but we need the names of the owners of these illegal refineries. We have Fidelity Bank present 27 million naira cash prizes to GAIM 5 winners. INE to invest $17.88 billion in Nigeria and others next 4 years. And we have on the Kaduna train attack, DSS raid hostage negotiator Mahmoud's residence and office. Detail of that story can be found on page 15. That's all on the Blueprint newspaper.
All right. On the Guardian, ADC not for sale, says Kachikun. Tax government on 200 million uneducated kids. Nigeria's oil production slumps to all-time low at 172,394 billion. DSS raids Mamu's residence office in Kaduna. UBA records double-digit growth, declares 0.20 an interim dividend. And then the picture story, which is the big story there, the queen dies, long live the king. You can read the big story on page 4 and 5. IU survives as NEC passes confidence vote and Wike defiant. Then court extends order stopping Buhari NBC from shutting down broadcast station. You can see more of that news on page 3. And these are the main stories on The Guardian.
On the Nation newspaper, we have military item cash financial instruments found in Mamu's house and office report coming from the DSS. No option to victory, Adamu tells the APC members ahead of the 2023 election. And over 30 aspirants undergo screening for the Ally Phase 2. UBA grows profit to 85.76 billion naira in 6 months. And we have here Rep Summon PETCOM DG. I hope more will be done because the issue of this PETCOM has really lingered for long. People not getting, the police wanting to be out of that scheme. So I hope something will be done about the PETCOM so that people will be able to get their pension at the appropriate time without any struggle. Man kills 90-year-old father in Kwara. You can look up that story too inside the Nation newspaper. And we still have PDP crisis, which is a big story. Charles is King of England and the world leader mourn Queen Elizabeth II. Downside of the paper, 7 injured in Ibadan collapsed building and 7,000 donkeys genital intercepted. You can actually read more of that on page inside the Nation newspaper. That's all on the Nation.
Okay, on Nigerian Tribune, landlord skeleton found in his room 4 years after last seen. More of that story on page 23 and 22. Exorbitant air ticket, 3 million jobs threatened as travel agents shut down offices. You can see that on page 8. 7 persons injured in uncompleted 4-story building collapse in Ibadan. You can see that on page 27. And the big story is PDP crisis. IU survives, Jibrin resigns, Wabara takes over board of trustee. Further with the riders, you can see Tambuwal emerges presidential campaign. DG Makinde replaces Sokoto governor as PDP governors forum chairman. Atiku, are you arrogant because someone at presidency promised them victory? Wike alleges. Boko Haram terrorist kills 40% teachers in Northeast. You can see more of that story on page 26. And this is just what we're talking about. You know, the security, like 40% of teachers in the Northeast. Now, where are we going to get these teachers? So it's not only that the children are not safe or students are not safe, but people to teach them are not even present anymore. So this is something really big because you need the teachers to teach, and 60% is not good enough to cover. Already in Nigeria, there are not enough teachers. When you go to our government schools, you will see the overload of work. You can see in one class a teacher taking over 100.
And then for each class, you can find like about 80
yes, yes.
To wonder.
So imagine, even if you're just short on 10 staff as a school is something big, talk more of 40 being killed. So already in the Northeast is already a problem for them education-wise. That's a big issue, right? UBA records strong double-digit growth, declares we can see 0.20 interim dividends, then locals and conniving with foreigners to kidnap people in Nekiti. This is very sad. You should be the one protecting each other, not conniving with foreigners to do evil to your people. Now, Prince Charles becomes king as Queen Elizabeth dies at age 96. You can see more of that story on page 14 and 15, and that's all the news on Nigerian Tribune today.
First news, we have Wabara replaces Jibrin as PDP Board of Chairman. Soldiers not involved in oil theft, Defense Headquarters replied the NNPC. And we have military equipment, large cash found in detained bandit negotiators' house and office. Abba Kyari operates a death squad. I can't return to Nigeria. Hush puppy, please. We have still on the PDP rumble. IU stays on after all. We have survived Wiki. Other shenanigans tells party neck vote of confidence. River governor dismisses board of chairman. Jibrin resignation. He says IU must go. Says this fight we will fight to the end. PDP's day of reckoning coming. Fingers presidency as backing and battle IU and Wike. Protesters storm the party secretariat and demands IU resignation. We can see the picture of the three elephants fighting on the PDP. We still have order here. Premier League set for mass postponement after Queen Elizabeth's death. Diamond League final. Toby Emerson breaks the 22-year-old record. Nigeria records 3.2 trillion naira trade surplus in 6 months. This is coming from NBS. And on 2023, Autumn accuses Buhari's government of setting stage for chaos. Terrorists have killed over 40% of teachers in the Northeast. This is coming from the NEDC. And Tambua remains Governors Forum chairman. This is of PDP. And Akere Dodu demands arms for Amoteku. And we have the Queen Elizabeth story too, so you can do well to get the first news and read detail of any of the story that is of interest to you. But before we move to other papers, Richard, I would like us to take a break right now where we can open the phone line for our callers. And also remember, you can drop your comment on our Facebook page and YouTube, and we'll read it live when we're back. Please do not go anywhere. Welcome back. It's still the Dailies on Echo Television International. If you're just joining us, and I'm your host, Sarah Elisha, and my co-host has been Rachel. Thank you so much, Rachel, for doing this with me.
You're welcome.
Yeah, we are still on Facebook and YouTube. Please do well to drop your comment, and also our phone lines are open right at this moment where you can call us and let us hear what your feels are concerning the PDP crisis, concerning the 40% of teachers that have been killed in the Northeast, and also other stories that have been screaming on our papers. But before we take the other paper, I think we have a comment from Olu, and he said, "Good morning, Echo TV. Have missed Tosi on the Dailies news." Yeah, thank you so much, Olu. We have another one coming from Temi Peter. He said, "PDP leadership are making me laugh. Wike should behave maturely and stop disregarding himself. Disregarding himself and the party. If he wants to leave the PDP, he should leave and let the PDP concentrate on the 2023 election." Thank you, Timmy, for that comment. Well, the same thing we're saying here. Whatever the issues of PDP, yes, they should try to resolve their internal crisis, yes, and other people can concentrate. Well, let's move to other papers.
All right, on the metrics. We can win elections without disrupting Nigeria before global community, says Fashola, and he's very right. DSS reveals how military equipment, large amounts of different currencies found in Mahmoud's house office. Europa League roundup. Arsenal off to winning start. Sociedad beat Man United at Old Trafford. That was a painful loss for me because I'm a Man United fan.
Okay, beginning to show your club, right?
But it's all good. I want to believe we'll have the next leg to redeem ourselves.
It's all right.
Largest and longest serving heir apparent finally ascends throne, becomes King Charles III. And the big story, 2023 PDP walking a tight rope. Gladiators refuse to shed swords. How crisis may cause Atiku election in 2023. Queen Elizabeth II said a passage of an era. On oil theft, Pengassan begins protest. Twitter deletes Nigerian professor's tweet that wishes Queen excruciating pain in last moment. Nigeria recorded 3.2 trillion naira trade surplus in 6 months, says NBS. Red Hot Amuson continues winning streak, defends Diamond League trophy. And that's all the news on the Matrix.
All right, on the Punch newspaper, railway pipeline GDP trembles by 51% over insecurity and vandalism. Detail of that can be found on page 20. Still on oil theft, we have Pengassan threatening 30-day shutdown. Nigeria risks 1.37 trillion naira loss. Sack non-performing serving chiefs reunion. The union tells the Buhari. Well, I hope that will be done because it would really be terrible if they finally go on that 30-day shutdown. There will be no fuel. We already have Ipman are presently on strike as a result of some of their pay not being met. So I just hope this will not be the case right here. Whatever the issue is, the police that are corrupt, soldiers that are corrupt, whoever the security agency that are corrupt should be vacated. They should leave the premises. They should be able to replace other people that can be accountable, so I don't have issues of losing lots and lots of money or oil as a result of that.
It's a lot of work, but the work that we can do. And I want to believe that it's negligence over the years that caused this thing, because there's supposed to be check and balances for things like that. And the moment something starts going wrong, it should be picked up. If the work has been done, this won't be, because I want to believe it didn't just happen overnight. They've been doing it and getting away with it, and then all of a sudden it's now bigger, and the loss, we can't keep quiet about it, and now it's becoming a big story. But this is not something that started just yesterday. It was neglected, and now it's becoming a very big issue for us.
True. Well, still on PDP pacifies South with Board of Chairman Ayu stays. Military will tackle security challenges, Buhari assure Nigerians. You can look up that story on page 14 of the Punch newspaper. We still have the story of Queen Elizabeth. Downside of the paper, we have Nigeria's monkeypox death toll highest in Africa. This is a statistic coming from the World Health Organization. And I hope something will be done about our health sector, because if we are looking that we're beginning to the issue of monkeypox keep increasing and is the highest in Africa, then you know that something needs to be done, because it keeps spreading to other states in the nation. And before we realize it, it will become an issue of state emergency at the end of the day. So I hope we declare that state of emergency on it right now. We don't need to wait for when it was like the COVID, where at the end of the day, there had to be a lockdown. Because
and even in Nigeria, we don't have only monkeypox to worry about. We have Lassa fever, it's still there.
Cholera,
so we have many other diseases to add to this. So we have to take it seriously.
We really need to take precautions. We have Lagos woman set up days for kidnapping, baby dies. Detail of that can be found on page 5. Police hoodlum demolish 50 Lagos building, victims protest. Troops rescue 3 Chibok girls, arrest terrorist informant. I'm really happy that we're beginning to rescue more and more of the Chibok girls. I hope that eventually we'll get all of them in their numbers and they will get to be united with their families again. That's all on the Punch newspaper. True.
All right. On Daily Independent, Queen Elizabeth, the longest reigning British monarch, dies at age 96. A great light has gone out, says Secretary General of the Commonwealth. And then the big story is still on PDP crisis. Ayochi Ayu survives plot to out him from office. NEC passes vote of confidence in party's national chairman, gives NWC power to populate presidential campaign council. The Board of Chairmen reigns. Atiku promises to meet citizens' expectations, and Wike rejects boards of chairman exits, insists Ayu must go for justice, equity. You can read more of that on page 29. Northeast requires 31 trillion naira for rehabilitation in 10 years. This is from the NEDC, and that will be all on.
Okay. I think let me move further to the Voice of Liberty newspaper. We have PDP neck passing vote of confidence on Ayucha Ayu. Buhari won't withdraw neck rec nominees accused of corruption and partisanship. This is coming from Lai Mohammed. And then we have court extend order stopping Buhari NBC from shutting down 53 broadcast stations. UK, the world's second longest reigning monarch, Queen Elizabeth II dies at 96. Buckingham Palace, Charles becomes the new king. On 2023, Atiku, are you arrogant because someone at presidency promised them victory? And on insecurity, military released Boko Haram informants in Abuja and High Brown area. And we have on Tribunal slam 25 million fine on multi-choice Nigeria over tariff hike. Abba Kyari operates death squad in Nigeria. This is coming from Hush Puppy Reveal, says I can't return to Nigeria. And we have downside of the paper where we have the countdown, where we have 164 days in captivity. This is the Kaduna train terror attack victims countdown. And that is all on the Voice of Liberty. And you can remember we're still live on Facebook. We're still live on YouTube. You can drop your comment, and also you can call us and let us know what you feel about most of the stories. I think Timmy has dropped another comment again. He said, Mamu should be well interrogated and should let Nigerians know the person in charge of the Abuja train attack. And we have on Mamu, Nigeria military police should make all their work and action shouldn't be made public again. Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Timmy. And lots of concerns have been coming about this negotiation, because people have, raised concerns and they have asked questions. Why is it that it was only, I think it was Gumi that started, and then eventually Mamu, who is his aide, now took over from him to be the middleman between the Nigerian government and the victims that were being kidnapped. I began to ask, what is his share in this? If all DSS are telling us some of the things they were able to get from his house, the computers, the armory, the currencies they say they're in his house, then I think more should be done. Even though Timmy is of the opinion that all this should not be made public. But I think Nigeria wants people to be accountable. Yes. We want things to be done publicly. We want people to take up responsibility for whatever they have done. We're tired of just hearing the government is doing something.
Yes.
You keep doing something and Nigerians cannot even, have a feeling what exactly is it you're doing. So I think we really have to do that. We've been agitating, we've been, protesting. People have even gone on rallies. And why don't we have the names of those that are financing Boko Haram? I think if their names, because
there's no need to keep it a secret. And I feel even for the DSS, it's a win for them. And I don't think anybody will want to keep their win silent. You need to let Nigeria know that we are working, and finally our hard work is paying off, and we are finally getting to the bottom of this. And in a way, it's telling us that this is the beginning, not the end. That if anybody tries this, we will be on your tail until we get to you, and we will find you, no matter how you think maybe others have gone scot-free with it. But no, we are working. We're actually working. It might take a while, but we are working. So no, I don't think it should be kept a secret. People need to know what the government is doing about it, what they are finding, and it's going to help us in a lot of ways, even personally, on your own personal security level. Yeah.
And I think this is for other people that are still, working together with the, Boko Haram or the kidnappers. I think this will now serve as a check, because other people will sit up and know that they can also be, you know,
Yes.
be brought to
They
book,
can.
and the rule of law is actually taking its place regardless of whoever it is.
Whoever it is.
All right, let's look at other papers that we have. We have from the Oshun Defender. I'd like to take the story here. We have police have forgotten us, family of the slave politician alleges. Detail of that can be found on page 4 of the Oshun Defender. Police parade Yahoo boys who kill friend out of jealousy. And we can actually read that too, still inside the Oshun Defender newspaper. We have more recruitment coming into Oshun Civil Service. Oh yes, Amoteku may follow after teachers' enrollment. PDP kicks vows to revisit Oyetoda's action after July 16 polls. We have other news here. Stakeholders renew commitment to save polluted Oshun River, and we can read up all of the stories inside the Oshun Defender. My life in danger, Oshun indigene in Lagos prison cries out. Accuses the DCP of commanding 50,000 naira accommodation fee. With detail of that story found on page 4 of the Oshun Defender. And I think we have other picture stories here, so you can do well to get any of those papers and read any story that is of interest to you. Let's move to other stories. I think on the Daily Times newspaper.
Okay, have faith in armed forces, Buhari tells Nigerians. PDP, NEC calls Wike's bluff, passes vote of confidence on Aida. The same thing we're saying, the more they drag it begins to look like a joke, and others will say the same too. Come out to deny, telling me Ayu must resign. Wike challenges Atiku, says asking Board of Chairmen to resign and insult. The issue is national chairman. Wabara replaces Jibrin as BOT chairman, and Tambuwal to lose set as chairman governors forum. And then we can see UBA post 12.6% profit growth in the first half of 2022. Queen Elizabeth II, UK longest serving monarch, dies at 96. The military DSS deny thieves access to oil and products worth 1.2 billion naira in 2 weeks, says the defense headquarters. Federal government needs 33 trillion to rebuild Northeast in 10 years. NEDC. And I think for this federal government, 33 trillion to rebuild the Northeast in 10 years, there's a lot of damage that has been done, and we can't quantify the loss, be it life, property, and whatever. Is not only what was there, but what could have been achieved in these 10 years if there was peace. So when you look at this amount, that I feel you can't even place a figure on it, but I want to believe there has been an estimate that, okay, this certain amount, if we put into the Northeast, we can revive it. But is that really the problem?
True.
Is putting the money the problem, or the security? Because
I think the security should be more, even though the money is needed, but I think security is of paramount importance, and we can overemphasize that. So I just feel the security should be the
first priority,
right?
Because if we start sinking money and there's still fighting and killing and disaster, then it will just be a waste on our side. So yes, the security should be the first before the money, in as much as it is important. And that's all the news on the Daily Times.
All right, let's take a look at the world of business from Business Day newspaper. Most Nigerians prefer mixed faith presidential ticket. This is a new poll. You can grab that on paper and read that on page 32 of the Business Day newspaper. We have expert outline ways to unlock Africa's platform economy. I think this is really the right step in the right direction. Nigeria's second quarter import drops as the forex shortage persists. And we have other stories here. We have the Queen Elizabeth, the Britain's longest religious monarch, dies at 96. We have a picture story here too on the Business Day newspaper. So we can do well to get Business Day and read any of the stories that's of interest to you. Let's move on now to the last paper, I think the Times Malta.
Yes, the Times Malta, and we can see the picture news there is still on the Queen Elizabeth II dies at the age of 96, and you can read more of that story is on page 9. And then we can insurers demand enforcement of e-scooter rules as claims increases. And on the Times Malta, that's all the news on it.
Yeah, thank you so much, Rachel, for doing this with me.
Thank
It's
you
really
very
a
much
privilege
for
to have you
having
here. I think we have another comment that is for you, but I think you read that comment personally later on because I think someone is really appreciating you so much. Well, thank you so much to us for Temi and all the people that dropped their comment on our Facebook page. Thank you to people who are yet to call us. I hope that you will call us so we'll actually hear what your feels are, and you keep a date with me by 10 where we'll have Nigeria Now, and also we'll also have to discuss other issues later on by 7 p.m. on National Talk. Until we come your way again, do have a blessed weekend ahead.